just moved from here last year, and he always gives me a hard time about like April. Just always sucks here.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, Hogs, you know what's worse than 43 degrees and rainy?" He said 43 degrees, rain. He said the thing you forgot to say, and it's May.
Right.
But supposed to get better this weekend. And actually, I think spring's next week. I think, Ashley, we're gonna have spring next week. I think it's actually gonna be nice for your birthday, Ashley.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me
warm up and sun's gonna shine.
Yeah, hopefully, because I think my wife was reminding me that there's been one sunny day in the last 3 weeks or something, right?
Yeah,
but there's nothing better than going out and unplugging your gutters and your pop-up drain so it doesn't go down in your 100-year-old basement every day, right?
Well, I keep going down I hear my sump pump going nonstop, and so I mean, it must be nice out on the job sites in the Midwest, that's for sure. How are they doing a lot of corn now that we don't have? We're not going to get it from Ukraine.
Well, yeah, for sure. I talked to Dave and a couple of those guys. It's they got those new hybrids out. You can plant them in the heat, in the drought, and anything, and they still get up 200 bushels per acre. So we'll see. They'll plant them with drones. Who knows? But yeah, no, they haven't got into it yet. Still a little bit too rainy out there.
Are we live?
We are.
Oh, okay.
We are.
I'm sure people enjoy our chit chat.
Our weather chat, yeah.
Weather chat.
Well, look, I was mad. I was talking to Greg before we started this today, and I'm like, what the heck are we going to talk about? So first of all, I'll lead it off. Welcome to This Week in Lumber with Matt Beamer and Greg Riley, which is becoming, look at, gentlemen, the de facto lumber show online, kind of in the United States, if not the world, man. People from Italy.
Global.
It's global, right?
Nobody else wanted to do it.
We're acting local and thinking global, right?
You got it.
Yeah, but it's good. I get a lot of feedback. I get calls on people. Both. It's always interesting. People love talking their position in this market. If I say one thing, I get a call from somebody saying, "Hey, I heard what you said today. I don't agree with you." I'm like,
I love when people want to argue about your position, your outlook about what the market is.
Right.
That's always a good sign. That's always a good sign that you might be onto something.
Mike Richardson, hello from Shelton, Washington. Shelton, is that right?
Yeah, sure.
That's the former home of Simpson Timber, Shelton, Washington. There's some history there in Shelton. That's logging town country right there.
Right on. Well, so I wanted to kind of lead off the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about where we've gone through in this global market over the last.
This week in lumber. Let's talk about this week in lumber.
So last week we kind of rolled into the week. Spruce was still slowly clawing its way up the wall of worry due to shipping problems, etc. Southern yellow pine was just coming off of a buy where a lot of the second, a lot of wood, and that kind of fizzled out. It seems to be pine has kind of lost its bite a little bit, although the multifamily stuff, the plate and that type of thing are still moving a little bit. That was due to the fact, I think we talked about, the big home centers aren't doing as much, the treaters aren't doing as much, and that product is a lot closer to the end user, so the logistics play less into it. Chris is hi from Asia, now working. All right, we got Asia. We've got the gentleman from Sodra on here. I'm not sure where he's located at, but oh yeah, we got a lot of people. Yeah, there we go. Chris from Asia. Yeah, there we go. And then I read, this. Then we go to the end of the week, and all of a sudden there's a bite on OSB and panels. Now it only took OSB a $700 sell-off to get a bite on it, but thick panels, and it was all multifamily is what we saw mostly. And been seeing that on lumber too, right? A lot of multifamily stuff. And if you look at the stats, that multifamily, you Matt and Greg live in that world, has been pretty phenomenal when you think about it. And when that price came off in the last few weeks, I think there were a lot of jobs out there where people are like, you know what, this just makes sense to cover this stuff that we've got. Hey, Chum is on too. So we come to this week, we come in, we have leaks in the government. We have all kinds of stuff going on. We got a Fed meeting today. Did they leak the Fed meeting too? I mean, wouldn't that be like?
No, I think that's called it's been telegraphed. It's been
yeah, they're raising it a half point, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's been that's going on. And then I read on Twitter this morning, good banter back and forth, that the car situation is basically accelerating to the positive side, where car shipments, according to the statistics that people track, are accelerating. Now, I'm sure I'll get a call from somebody who will tell me that that's never true and that's never going to happen. But I mean, I don't know, Beamer, you live in that world a little bit better than I do from the mills standpoint. Is that improving according to what these stats say and these rail shipments that people track monthly?
Not in my world. I saw that, and first thing I said on our little group chat internally was, I don't believe it. Now, I mean, I've got wood that I bought for prompt 3 weeks ago that hasn't even loaded yet. I've got wood that I bought in January for February shipment that hasn't loaded yet. You know, we've got reloads that are waiting for cars.
How do you deal with that if, you know, something from February? I mean, you know, like, but I guess if you bought it in January for February, it's still below the current market, right?
You know, how do I deal with it? I just stopped doing it, man. I'm not buying any more lumber that's not going to ship, period. What's the point in buying lumber that I can't get?
Well, Greg, you had good feedback from a mill yesterday on trucks.
Yeah. So, I mean, the interesting thing that I see, Matt, in the East is there's just a wide range. I have mills that I buy lumber from and they ship it perfectly fine on car. I have mills that are saying that they're, you know, a month late on shipping cars. And over the last several weeks, I have the luxury of being able to buy trucks into Northeast Reload. So, you know, I may have bought, 40 or 50 trucks like over the last 3 weeks to go in. And I was asking one of my suppliers about some trucks that were due to ship this week because obviously, you know, everything's just rolling right through. He said, "Well, I'm not gonna sell you trucks anymore if you keep asking me about them." I said, "Oh, is this you've got your customer service hat on today?" I said, "Apparently, I'm a high maintenance customer. You must not do any business with retail."
Right.
And then he said, "Well, I'm just glad I don't have any cars that I'm a month late on." And I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, that's no problem. I mean, I just say, if that's the case, if, you know, you can't do it, then, you know, we just PTS them." "Well, no, we don't do that." I went, "What? Why would you not? You're out of contract. So you should remedy that." "No, we don't do that."
Well, I mean, I'm here to remind everyone that as a representative of Hampton Lumber, we manufacture lumber. It's our job to get you the lumber that you bought, right? I mean, that's my responsibility as a mill rep. And I don't give a shit what your excuses are. If you can't get that done, you got to find new ways to do it. You got to truck it. You got to move wood to a different reload. I'm sorry to be crass about it. I'm telling you, man, I don't run my business that way. Okay. And I'm not going to let other mills ruin my reputation because they just refuse to deal with reality, especially when the price of lumber is 4 digits with a comma in it. You know, at that point, you owe it to your customers. And I sound angry because I am angry. I'm now mad. It's ruining my business. I can't run my business effectively. And so guess what? I'm just going to stop. Just not going to do it. I'll do something else. I will go on a month vacation if I have to. I don't need this crap. It's just ridiculous. And I'm not putting up with it anymore. I don't care if a mill manager is tired of being asked questions because he's a month late. You know what? It's your job. Figure it out.
And to Matt, to your point is, and this is what I've been saying to people, there's an understanding, January and February, there was winter, there was like a uptick in COVID and, short term that, there's issues. Okay. We got around to March and you would think that people would have made appropriate plans on how to deal with things, right? And I was fully under the impression that all of this would be resolved in the month of the April. The fact that it's not resolved now is somewhere between incompetence and ignorance, or just plain apathy. And to your point, when you're looking at record mill returns, I did see one of the big BC mills only made $750 million in the first quarter. I mean, if you're making that kind of money, to your point, you owe it to your customers to do something to honor the commitment that you made to make delivery.
Yep.
There's no excuse. And the mills that make excuses now, are just lazy or incompetent. So, and I'm gonna get some hate. Ashley, I'm gonna get some hate mail now.
Now, what you guys have effectively done is what will happen probably today or tomorrow morning. This is my prediction. A mill will come out now and say they are curtailing some obscure amount of lumber because of problems with shipment and because the board's limit down today.
Well, let me speak to this a little bit more. It's not like mills didn't have the writing on the wall. We knew that we were going to have logistical problems going into 2022. It happened in 2021. It happened in 2020. It happened in 2019. I mean, this isn't some new phenomenon here. But what is new is the railroad's excuse list. They come up with all these different reasons why they can't get the latest one from the BN, and the BN is gotten worse, if you can imagine that. Okay, so I live in the world of the UP and the BN here in Oregon and Washington, and the BN's been bad all year. It started out as a walking strike between the union members and management because they didn't like the new overtime rules. Now it's morphed into management is blaming, we don't have enough choo-choo trains like locomotives, and we don't have enough engineers to drive those locomotives, so we can't move as much train at any given time. Well, guess what, Dingleberry? Go build some more locomotives. How much money have you made in the last 20 years? Billions of dollars. Get some locomotives on order. Go hire some people, overpay them. I mean, that's what labor markets, when they're tight like they are now, you got to pay more. I mean, that's why you make $20 flipping burgers at McDonald's right now. That's why Walmart's paying $110,000 for truckers.
And there are people that are doing the things that they need to. I know I have one supplier in the East, and he was complaining that, because we're not getting the cars, we're shipping X amount of cars a week to this reload and X amount to that reload, but we're having to pay outrageous amounts of money. And I went, you know what? You're doing what you should be doing, and like we said, at record profitability, that's the smart thing to do. Doing nothing and blaming the railroad is apathy or ignorance.
I brought up a point. I had one of our logistics partners give me rates out of 7 BC mills to Arizona, Chicago, Denver, and Texas. And in some cases, if you did 4 trucks versus 1 car, and the trucking was available too. If you did 4 trucks, it was twice as much money. And people are like, well, nobody will pay that. Well, then get the 4 trucks and charge the railroad back.
You know what, the railroad, you guys want to know a little secret about the CN Railroad?
What's that?
You know what they've done the last 5 years or so in the wintertime when rail cars get really tight? They will auction cars off to sawmills that are desperate for empties. And they'll ask the mills to make bids on like 80 cars of empties that they've had in storage. And the people, because they're desperate to get wood shipped, they'll bid $300 or $400 a car, and the CN gives them the cars. I mean, in America, that would be illegal, right? That's what we would call extortion.
Well, but isn't that the car bidding system that the BN has, where you bid on cars on like a weekly basis? The
BN's done it, and the CN's done it. I mean, I just find it outrageous. You know how much I pay to move a car from Oregon to Texas? $12,000.
But Matt, isn't that what we do with trucks? I mean, I come up on a day and I just say, hey, pay more money, and then we'll get more trucks, right? I mean. I've got to back up on the roads right now.
Giving us more rail cars? Do you see better service on the rail car side in May? I don't. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I don't believe the statistics that they say the velocity is going up and the number of cars moving around is going
No,
up.
that's a good point. I think we need to dig into those. Kevin Otto said, I love Matt's perspective. Tim Hansen said, just had the same conversation with suppliers this morning. It's not the current dollar issue with the late loads. It's that we're not filling our orders. Reliable delivery is the key to our jobs, right? And I think there's a lot of people out there frustrated about it, and they're frustrated because it's just not getting taken care of, right?
I mean, the only reason that we're putting up with this is because everything else is late too, right? These guys can't get LVLs, they can't get glue lambs, they can't get siding, they can't get, certain types of sheathings and whatnot. So everybody in the building industry has just learned how to wait.
Right.
And so, we're all just sort of stuck staring at the screen, wondering if it's ever going to get better. Well, guess what? It's not going to get better. And
Well, no, actually, Matt, I got a news flash for you. Somewhere in the next 30 to 90 days. No, maybe let's say 60 to 100.
Oh man, come on! He just freezed on it.
20 days.
Go back a second there, Craig. Say that again. We lost about 10 seconds.
Start out with.
Was that the sensor that got me?
Yeah, you got it. You got the algorithm. Elon didn't save you on that one.
Somewhere in the next 60 to 120 days, all of a sudden, all of these issues will be resolved and everything will be caught up and there will be extra of things available. That's my prediction. Is it's somewhere in that 60 to 120 day time period. And I mean, listen, the way we're going to solve all of the issues, all of the labor issues, all of this stuff is higher interest rates, less government spending, which will cause slower economic growth. And then, quote unquote, all of our problems will be solved.
Yeah, we got to deal with that transitory inflation.
Yeah. That transitory 6% inflation.
You see what Patrick Taylor says here?
No. Let's look. Pat, I've heard from multiple Canadian mills that B and CN are doing the auction for empty cars or not fulfilling the contract obligations.
I mean, that's greasy, right?
And Sean Higgins just called you the Swami, Greg.
Big, Okay,
hey, let's
hey, Shawnee, if I throw enough shit against the wall, if I throw enough stuff against the wall, some of it's gonna stick, brother.
Yeah, well, look, we had this conversation too, Greg. So we got to bring Russ on again because you had a great stat from him, and I'm going to kind of tact away from this because we've beaten this one up enough, and we're getting angry now.
That's your job as moderator. Well done.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit. You threw out a stat that Russ had the other day, which I found great because Russ comes up with great stats. And by the way, everybody's like, when are you going to have Russ on again, right?
We'll see if we get him on the next week or two.
His stat was about 2021 new consumption versus demand versus supply, right? New consumption versus production.
North American consumption was up only 1.5% last year. And North American was up 0.8%. The difference being more, and I think that's actually huge. It was more exports from and more European imports made up the difference.
But still,
when we looked at price going, up 4x, right, to an all-time high of $1,700, with consumption only up 1.5%.
So what would you think, Swami, going into 2000? That's a great. Going into 2000, what's it going to look like this year?
Well, the only number that we have so far is that January production was down from last year. I mean, we kind of need to get into it a little deeper and see where the numbers are. But I'm going to say that at the end of the year, production will be greater than the increase in consumption for the year, and the ending inventories will be bigger. Because that's a difference maker also, is at the end of the year, it's beginning inventory, ending inventory, right? What the sawmills hold at the end of the year changes that number.
Matt, what's your thought on that?
Well, I think consumption's probably increased a little bit this year in the on the the retail lumber side, and also on the multifamily sector. And I think maybe the home center / treater business is down, going to be down year over year, or flat. I mean, I don't really think that consumption's changing drastically. It's all of the things that we've been talking about in 2022 have really been related to logistics. We knew back in November, December that the big home builders, the national home builders, wanted to hit the ground running in 2022 and get a lot of starts in the ground. We knew all this stuff, last winter, and I guess we just didn't plan on how bad the railroads could truly be, and then on top of that, have a trucking problem thrown in the middle of all that too, right?
And a shipping problem, right? And a vessel problem. I
mean, we've just had some serious logistical problems this year, which might not ever happen again all at the same time, right? I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. And in the 30 years I've been doing this is the first time it's happened in this way, right? So I wouldn't plan on it happening again. But if you just remove the logistical part out of our equation here and just look at the number of opportunities that I've had to buy and sell lumber, it's really similar to any other year. I mean, it's just, I don't feel like all of a sudden my phone just started ringing off the hook in 2022. No, I mean, it's just a normal year with a lot of service disruptions thrown in. And as soon as you take the service disruptions out of the equation, I think we go back to historically more normal types of conditions where we don't have this massive volatility. We just have a real boring trading range that's not a 4-digit number, it's a 3-digit number. You're going to take out all the commas. And to Greg's point, if you have a recession, if the government says, whoa, put the brakes on, stop printing easy money, let's tighten our belts, let's give people an incentive to save instead of spend, then what happens to construction? It's going to drop. And all of a sudden the desperation for quick loads goes away. Next thing you know, the mills have more inventory, and they start listening a little bit more. And, things change, and they will change, and they're going to change. That's the direction our government's sending us right now.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back a little bit to the world we're living in right now. So I looked, May futures today trade a low of 980 and a high of 1025. They're at 1005 right now. Where is cash right now, Matt?
About 1050 to 1100, depending on your quality and tally.
1050 to 1100. So today you could have bought 980 if you wanted to. And then you go to the July contract where you have a last of 891, a high of 923, and a low of 863. And I saw on Twitter where everybody's asking about, well, what does that mean between May and July lumber? I mean, it's like, hey, that's what somebody's willing to pay for July, right? Or sell in July. What do you guys read into that discount in the way that's that curve is set up in the back falling down?
I mean, Ash, one of the things is, to Matt's point is, you think about it, prior to 2020, the 25-year average annual volatility of lumber was 40%, right? So we've just gone through 2 years where we've had, 100 to 200 to 300% annual volatility. So to Matt's point, if we're going to get back to a place where we're more, so what more normal looks like is percent annual volatility. And so then you say, well, from what average price is that? If you say an average price of $600, then that's a range of $240, right? So you'd be 600, you'd be down at 360 to 840 would be your range, right?
Could you see that going in the next 6 months?
No, not in the next 6 months, but I mean, but I'm just saying, as we move forward, we're going to move more towards that range than what we have been in.
I think the board's telling us that people expect logistics to get better, production to improve, and consumption to stay relatively flat. So if that's the case, then you're going to see lower prices in the future because your supply is now unkinked, right? You've got that little hose there where everything's being held up because of rail and trucking and ports. The board is telling us as an industry that investors think that will solve itself somehow. And they'll free up the flow of material, or demand will be destroyed and we'll just have less consumption, right? So either way, that leads to lower prices. And so I respect that. I mean, I'm not going to fight it. I don't really make very much money fighting against the CME for long periods of time, to tell you the truth. I never have tried to. It's just kind of stupid. Why bang your head against the wall? They got a lot more money than I do. So
it's a price determining mechanism. It's not a price predicting mechanism. I mean, and that's the thing people need to
we're losing them again.
keep in mind is all it's telling you is the collective wisdom of the people that buy and sell futures contracts on what they think fair value is for some point in the future. It's beholden to us to look at that and say, hey, is that a value? And I say right now, I mean, I'm buying July and September for clients who are locking in business for July through October, or July through actually December business. It's at a discount to today's cash market. Is it the low price that the market may or may not trade at? We don't know, but they've made a determination that it's a fair price for their project. It's lower than today.
Here's
right?
a great question.
It takes some of the pressure off of them mentally, that at least they have part of their job covered, right?
Here's a question from Kevin Otto. He said, an international broker told us this morning that Canadian mills will start curtailing if Western SPF drops below 1,000. Do you guys think that is true?
I doubt it.
I
give that 5 Pinocchios. 5 Pinocchios.
Yeah.
Why? I guess my question is that let's just argue it between $400 and $500 a thousand. If somebody is going to return their shareholders money, why would they curtail below $1,000? I mean, not that they won't come out and say, hey, because of a grasshopper with a wooden leg couldn't kick all the seeds out of a dill pickle this week, we're going to take off X amount of footage. But why would anybody curtail at the best returning price they've ever had in the history of producing lumber?
I mean, they've already been curtailing this year because they had no space to store stuff anymore, right? So, I mean, I don't think the mills want to curtail. Obviously, they want to run as fast as possible and ship as much as they can, because that makes your billings look really good at the month end, right? Your quarter end also. This is why
there will be some kind of an announcement right after this or this week about how there's some obscure amount of lumber coming. We can count on that happening now this week, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt. I just put it this way: I highly doubt it. And there's multiple reasons. Greed is one of them, but the other one is the function of how mills process and return the money back to the investors, because they've got to go out. What a lot of people don't think about is they've got to go out first and buy the logs, right? Yeah. So you're cash committed. You've got this inventory sitting out on 30 acres behind the mill, and you got millions of dollars worth of logs just sitting there waiting to get turned into something of value. And you can't just let that pile just sit there forever. I mean, in extreme circumstances, if we were selling lumber for $125 a thousand, like in 2011, yeah, you'll see curtailments based on actual dollars. But when the price is 1,100, yeah, no, you're going to blow through those high priced logs, especially if the market starts to collapse, right? If we went from 1,100 down to 500 in a month, the mills would be pumping out as much possible as they could because they want to get those expensive logs out of their inventory and replace them with cheaper logs.
Yeah, good point. Hey, Russ Taylor just put, thank you, Russ. He said 1.5 and 0.7 otherwise correct, Greg. You freeze up on me, Greg?
I think we lost Greg, buddy. He's just smiling like a dummy. Look at him.
Greg, we lose you?
Greg's gone.
He may have, the satellite may have not orbited over his house. Well, yeah. That's perfect. Thanks, Russ. Well, look, it is 12:33. I appreciate the time that we put in today, Matt. If you want to get a hold of Matt, he's there. You are, Greg. We lost you for a second there, buddy.
Yeah,
your Starlink went down.
Now you lost your sound there, buddy.
No worries. We're gonna wrap this up. Greg Riley, USA, Matt Beamer, HamptonLumber.com. Tomorrow, Matt Lehman and I will do our lunch with Lumberman at 12 o'clock Central Time again. And Friday we'll do the market call. But make sure you come on and MXLumber.com. We are moving lumber panels and OSB every day in a dynamic matching B2B digital exchange. We want you on. Matt, thank you for coming on. Greg, thank you for coming on. We'll look forward to next week.
Have a great day, man. See ya.
Yeah, you bet.